Welcome, everyone. My name is Karen Knight. I'm the chair of the District 21 Speech Contest Committee. We're trying to decide what we are going to do now that we have been told to not hold fall contests or fall conferences anymore. What we have been told in terms of rules is any contest that is held at the area level or higher must go as per the regular rule book. So it would have to be held at the area, at the division, and at the district finals. The district finals must be held at the annual conference in the spring. There is no any decision that we make as a final will be binding on all divisions. So if we decide to hold a particular contest in addition to the international, then every division has to hold that same contest and carry it through. If we don't hold anyone other than the international, then no. Okay, so we have heard all sorts of we've had lots of responses from all over the district. It's really quite interesting because people tend to forget that other people have different opinions on them, because I've had emails that say, oh, it's better to hold all the contests and drop keynotes and educational sessions, because nobody ever comes to the conferences for the keynotes and the educational. They only come for the contests. And then I've had opposite emails saying, well, I don't care what you do about the contest, but don't cut the educational system or educational sessions and the keynotes, because that's why I come to the conferences. So it's really quite interesting seeing what comes out. We've had a few really good ideas, some stuff that are really outside of the regular box, and we'll be talking about them soon. I think that about covers the introduction. Sean, did I miss anything?
I think you've got it well covered, yeah.
Okay, good. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to ask each of the division representatives that are in attendance, because not all of them were able to make it, to read off or summarize the suggestions that they had. And then we'll go on, and any one that I've got that hasn't already been spoken of, I'll cover that. And then we'll have a discussion. And if you like a particular idea, give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you don't like it. Whatever. Just give us some indication of what you think, of what you see. There's emoticons or whatever they're called up in the upper left-hand side. So I'm going to ask Raymond Ho for Division B. Michael for Division A isn't here. So Raymond, can you let me know what you have heard formally or informally from your division, please?
Okay, for Division B, I can cover a little bit Division A. I've got one message that was actually given to me. It was belonged to Division A. I'm not sure how many messages that Michael gave or got, but I got one that was in common. Anyways, the overall theme that I see, and I didn't get a lot of response of Division B, the overall response was, we would like to keep them all the contests, but extend the conference. That was the 2 or 3 messages I got. Or drop the human speech contest. And one person said the essentials in a Toastmasters meeting is international speech, table topics, and evaluation. Keep those, but add time to the conference to incorporate them all. And then I got one person who really said, I vote for keeping the human speech. That's my favorite. So that's all I got. There wasn't a lot of response to in my division. Okay. So that's short. That's what I've got.
Right. Okay. Well, that's fine. We've seen those ones come from around the district. Margaret Humphreys, have you been able to join us from Division C? Doesn't sound like it. So who would be next? Mark? Pardon?
So originally I had one response for Division C before Margaret came on board the committee.
Sure.
So you can summarize that one from the one I received from Division C before Margaret took over. And again, I don't know if she's got anything else. But the one suggestion I received, which was from Division C, was hold international speech contest as required, alternate table topics and evaluation contests every other year, and eliminate the humorous speech contest. So that's the suggestion, like that first one I got before Margaret took over.
Mm-hmm. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Veronica, are you here for Division E? No? Okay. Division F, that's you, Sean.
Okay, well, I received 6 written responses, and there were several anecdotal responses that were verbal when I was talking to people along the way. The 6, I will give you the specific components. One of them, coming from Funny Bones, was actually I had 2 from people from Funny Bones. One of them was, of course, keep the humorous and contest going and table topics because they'd like to have them, and they specifically want to have them in the fall. I did get another person saying that they want to have the fall contest because the spring contests interfere with tax time, and that means that that person is unable to participate in those contests because of their work with whatever on taxes. So that they would like to have had a fall session. Mm-hmm. When I was reading on some of the stuff on the humorous, they're looking at is there other ways to skirt the rules and maybe even try something controversial like the Olympics. It was to that. I thought that was interesting. Another comment was keep the international evaluation, and there was a great deal of concern about longer conference. That was a written response I got. I also received that verbally from several people. They didn't want the conference to go a day longer if it didn't have to because they were concerned about the cost associated with that and being able to get the time off to be able to support it. Another person said the international and evaluation and table topics would be what they'd like to see because those are core skills that we want to encourage within Toastmasters as an organization. I thought that was cool. Another person wanted all the contests, much what Raymond had heard, and potentially have a fall festival or some other event in the fall, and then have the winners compete at the annual conference. And we heard some of that comments from other people as well in some of the verbal dialogue that we had, mm-hmm. and suggesting that we might have something fall session and then bring it up at the annual conference level. Another comment was that 2 contest seasons are stressful, and all events once a year with an extra day at the conference would just be too much. It's having 2 contest seasons. So you'd have to have it all at once to do it meaningfully, and then to do that, one would be fairly significant amount of effort at a mm-hmm. conference with the extra. That was the general feedback I got. And specific feedback I got on the question.
I lost you at the very end there, but
that was
okay.
The specific feedback I got on the question. Hopefully, I don't know why I dropped off, but anyway, yes.
Okay, excellent. Mark Earl, you're next.
Okay. For Division G, I only received 4 responses in regards to the email, one of which is not so much a suggestion, so much as asking if we could change the dates of the contest, but that's not doable according to the Toastmaster rules for going forward. Mm-hmm. The other 3 are much more detailed responses, and in fact, all 3 kind of contradict each other, so I don't have a general theme for my division.
Okay.
But in terms of the 3 emails I received, one suggests that we have 3 contests per year, international every year, and then we alternate the table topics and humorous one year, then evaluation telltales the next. So that way we'd be seeing all contests and getting a variety of different experience, and then just kind of switching each year. Right. Then they also had some suggestions on which days are in the conference it could be and how you could fit it into the schedule, but I won't go into that level of detail here. Then there was another email which suggested that evaluation and table topics are really core to the Toastmaster message, so those 2 should stay. And although they mentioned that humorous speech contest is their favorite contest of all, they believe that one should stop happening. Because if we have the humor speech contest and international running in parallel, there could be bias amongst the judges having seen a humorous contest and then evaluating an international contest, or a bit of confusion of the message of what's differentiating the two. Because usually when we have them in a fall and spring side, we're not getting that kind of mix in between. And so their suggestion is to do 3 contests at the single conference.
Okay.
So they do say that every additional contest is additional workload and stress on the area directors and division directors. So it's understandable if we cut it down to 2 or...
That's it. Okay. That, I think, brings it to me. There's a few other things that... Actually, I'm going to ask Patty Kay to make some comments. She's given a few suggestions herself that I think are kind of outside the box, and I would like her to explain those and see what people think about them.
Sorry about that. I got cut off.
Yeah, no problem. I figured. Do you still have more to do, Mark?
Yeah, there's one final email, which, as I say, kind of contradicts the others. So
okay, well,
message...
Go ahead with that then.
Thank you. The final email says that we should not alternate at all, just because with the turnover we get within clubs of new members, if we had, say, 2 contests running and then alternate each year table topics, evaluation, and humor, then there could definitely be members who never see a single contest, or if members aren't going to every conference, they may not see a district level contest of that kind ever. So they highly recommend that we don't go with the rotation schedule. They say to keep the evaluation contest and to keep international, and they suggest instead of running area contests, we try intercity, which is kind of a gray area in terms of the new rules.
Right.
My own personal thought on the matter is that evaluation and the international are very core, and that with humor and table topics, it's still, I think it'd be a good idea to encourage that within the clubs, as the very least as a warm-up to when the actual contest season starts with international and the evaluation. Because then you can have members trained to be judges, training on doing timing rules, ballot counting, so they're more ready for when the official contests roll around.
Right. Okay, good. And I got a copy of that same email that you referred to at the last. And when you were saying citywide, I think what he had intended was that the clubs host the contest. It has nothing to do with the district. And then so that you can have a contest that's of a fairly big size, but it has nothing to do with the district and doesn't continue on. It is within a club. So whether that's stretching the rules a bit, I don't know, but that was the suggestion. It's one way of having a larger contest without cluttering up the district or the annual conference. Okay, and that's it, Mark? That's all you've got for us right now?
Yep, that would be it.
Okay, perfect. So, Patty, if you could unmute and let us know some of the ideas that you've got, please.
Okay, so I was thinking that we keep the international and the evaluation contest as normal, and instead of having official contests for the other 2 things, we continue to do something similar at the conference, but not an official contest with all the overhead. So I thought for table topics, what we could do is we could have people invited up on stage to do table topics throughout the conference during dead times, kind of an entertainment and participation thing. People could volunteer, pull their name out of a hat or something like that, and then they would have an opportunity to do table topics in front of a larger audience. You'd have some audience participation, but you wouldn't have the administrative overhead that comes with an official contest. And it could fill in some of those blank times. And then I thought for the humorous contest, what we could do is treat that as the entertainment on one of the nights. And people could put forward a humorous speech, say that they want to deliver it at the conference, and as entertainment, not an official contest. And maybe what we could have to add a little bit of competitive nature to it is we could have people create short videos to talk about their humorous speech contest and why we should vote it in to hear it at the conference. And those could actually be posted on Facebook, and they could be used to advertise the conference to draw some attention to it. And that way people get to have a larger audience, they get to participate, we get the fun of hearing the humorous speeches, we get to hear a few table topics, maybe, have these things in between the gaps so it doesn't take over a lot of the conference agenda, so that it doesn't have to be any longer. So I think that covers the idea I had. Okay,
good. Oh, I see 2 thumbs up floating by, so I think people like your idea, Patty.
Yay!
So that's good. That's good. I'll go over some of the things that I've seen come up. Now, first, I want to say that a lot of interesting ideas came up that were not related to this committee's task. People talking about what we should do. We should have a fall get-together that is strictly focused on education and this sort of thing, which are great ideas, but it's outside the scope of this committee. So if you have an idea like that, I suggest you forward it to the trio and give your pitch directly to them rather than to this committee, because we're focused strictly on contests at this idea. But I've seen some good ideas floated by. Like the previous reps, I've heard keep just the evaluation. I've heard keep evaluation and table topics. I've heard keep all 4 contests and extend the conference. Rotate the table topics and evaluation. Drop the humorous. Keep the humorous and table topics and drop the evaluation. I've heard everything. Another one that's a little bit outside the box is divisions could have a less formal get-together with some speeches, including evaluations and table topics, plus 1 or 2 educational workshops. This could be geared toward brand new members as well as more experienced members. Yeah, I'm losing the picture here. So yeah, it's something that's focused more on new members instead of the evaluation, and it wouldn't be a contest season, so it would be just more an educational thing. Again, is the division holds something that shows that showcases evaluations and table topics. Let's see, what else have I got here? I propose we still hold the table topics and humorous, but use a different format. And that's another one. I've seen a couple things, but we have to stay with what the rule book says at this point. So we can't change up how the contests themselves are run. If we hold the contest, it must be as per usual, as per the rule book. Here's a different idea that hasn't been mentioned yet, is we could still hold all 4 contests at the conference. However, you get to choose, 2 of them would be running simultaneously. So you would have the table topics and the humorous at the same time, and the evaluation and the international at the same time. So there's good and bad to that. It would mean people would have to pick and choose which ones they went to see. I don't know what people would think of that idea, but that was one thought that was put out there. I'm trying to see what else we have here. Yeah, no, that's not. Oh, that's why do we have to follow these rules? I mean, I got a few of those emails too. Why do we have to follow these rules? Because we've been told. Yeah, no. So that pretty well covers the majority of what's been put forward. No, Brian Dodd put a question forward, and I'm sorry it took so long to get back to you, Brian. It says, how is the fall district council meeting going to be held? That, again, Brian, is something that you would have to focus to the trio. It has nothing to do with contests, and so it's outside the scope of this committee and this webinar. We want to focus right on the contest.
But it will be virtual. It needs to be virtual.
Sorry?
It will be virtual.
Yeah, there'll be virtual meetings. So, but does anyone else have any questions? Any of the audience members type something into the chat?
Well, and while you're considering questions and typing, one of the things we wanted to point out is that there was, we questioned what the intent was. We also questioned the wording because there was some clarifications we were looking for. So we did go back to the International a few times and challenged some of the things that were being said to make sure we understood, or at least understood why, if nothing else. And the intent is to take away some of the pressure on the district, whether it be the division or area directors, on running contests, and put the focus on education, which is more important, which is deemed to be more important for the overall well-being and growth of the members. So shifting that focus away from the contest season. So there is only the one contest season in a year, and that they can spend the rest of the year focusing on improving education and the quality of the clubs. So that was what the intent is. That doesn't prevent us from necessarily having club-level contests or having other events in the potentially in the fall time, and that they would culminate at the annual conference. But it goes against what the International is attempting to achieve here, and so we have to look at that. The other thing is that any decision we make for 2019 is really going to be a decision for 2019. It's not going to be a decision forever that will be cast in stone and we can't change it after that. We expect that there will be insights that happen between now and our contest and our conference, and that we'll be able to look at what other districts are doing, and we have asked to see what other districts are planning to do, so we've looked at that as well. But we'll be able to see what actually has taken place and what, if they've challenged the International and the International is willing to make some changes on it, then we'll have more information to make a decision for 2020 or the fall of 2019 if something else changes. So.
Good. There's one other thing, and I'm not sure if I'm understanding this one very well. This is from Division E. He's saying that he wants there to be. I'm not following, but he has this thing about a best of 3 knockout eliminations, so that every division contest would have 2 winners in each of the 4 contests, and then have 3 rounds in which you cut out the last place. But he doesn't explain where that would take place or how. So it seems like you would be given that same speech like 7 or 8 times. So I'm not. I would need more clarification on that, but that's another idea that was put forward. Okay, so are there any questions? Any of you have any ideas, any thoughts, anything that hasn't been mentioned? Like I said, I've received a ton of emails, so one or more may have been missed. So if you want to put any more ideas forward, now is the time.
Now, one of the things that we just add a comment. One of the things that we also heard, if we're going to talk about some of the things we heard, was feedback on having the best 3 out of 4, or having a rotation on contests. So we take 2 and then we and rotate what that second one would be through each of the each year. The concern raised by that is that the average lifespan of a Toastmaster is less than the amount of time they would have an opportunity to see all those contests in their area.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little bit of insight that I said, good point. So if a Toastmaster isn't going to stick around for 3 years, they're not going to see all of those contests. So having a 3-year rotation would not be necessarily appropriate. And the other thing is, with our 3 locations that we tend to have our conferences set up, the island, Lower Mainland, and Interior, it's possible that the same location would always have the same contest. Not that that would be a bad thing, but that's possible.
No, but it does mean, again, that it would be limited to... Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you fine.
Okay, because I've got a sign up here that says I've been disconnected from my meeting. So anyway, I will go ahead as if I am not disconnected. But yeah, if for example the evaluation contest was always held in the interior, anybody who isn't able to travel to the interior would never see an internet evaluation contest, and that would be a shame.
Now, I see that Barbara Bryant has typed in some stuff and some comments, and so has Jan Ireland. Barbara stated, excellent. I don't know if the rest of you can see it, I have found the last few years less people want to compete. The clubs are actually appointing more people to represent them rather than actually having club contests, and that is an important factor. So maybe we are overloading the clubs and the areas and divisions with having to put people in there, and they're not really providing much value if the clubs are just anointing or appointing people. In those cases, the other comment by Jan was, I'm in favor of prioritizing the contest by, number 1, international, which we have no choice on, and 2, evaluation, 3, table topics. So thank you for that, Jan.
And there's a comment by Maureen McBath. I'm sorry to see the area and division gatherings in the fall without the contests and conference. Perhaps we can have a fall area and division event that's a comedy night with humorous and humorous and tall tale speeches. I like the idea of table topics as being part of the entertainment during the meals at the conference. Off-the-cuff speaking is a skill we want to keep and value. That's a really good point. But again, gatherings that aren't contests are something you would have to talk directly to the trio about rather than here. But one thing I want to mention, Patty mentioned about the table topics being part of the entertainment and stuff during the meals. This is something that Toastmasters International does at the international conference or convention, is between different segments of the events during the course of the day. They will have someone go up and be a table topics master, usually past champion or something like that, and they'll just take volunteers from the audience and do 3 table topics, one right after the other. So this is something that Toastmasters International does at the international convention. So there is a strong precedent. Thank you. I knew I was looking for a P word. A strong precedent for doing that.
Actually, I just saw it at the Vancouver one, and I didn't see it. I'd never seen it before. I'd never seen them do that before.
Yeah, they've done it before. They've done it, I think Vancouver was probably about the 3rd year that they've done it. So yeah, the more out-of-the-box ideas rather than either have the contest or don't have the contest, if we can find ways to give people the opportunity to speak in front of a larger audience, even if they don't actually get to compete and carry away a trophy, that's what makes the contest so strong and such a good learning tool, is because they have to practice and hone a particular speech to go up to district level. This would still happen. It's just we wouldn't have all the difficulties of putting together a contest and finding judges and all the briefings and everything else. It would be a much simpler way of doing it. And yet you'd still have the opportunity to speak in front of a larger audience, and the audience would get entertained.
I have a question. At the district business meeting, it was mentioned that when we started this committee that we would look into what other districts have done. Have we done that?
Yes, we have. I
Sean, I'll leave
solicited that
with
input.
you,
Yeah, I solicited that input from both Mary Swanson and Mary Morrison. Mary Swanson being our regional advisor throughout Region 1, and also with Mary Morrison, who is our international director, to provide feedback on what other districts were doing. And there, the ones that had made a decision were pretty simplistic. It was they're having the international speech and the evaluation contest. That was what the majority are doing. There was nothing that was really out of the box thinking on in any area that had been reported to me. There are some that are going to have 3 contests, but none that I'd heard were going to do 4. And there was no consideration formally for rotation. I think for the problems or the concerns that we identified in that is the life cycle of a Toastmaster might not have an opportunity to participate in a given contest for that reason. So yes, there were only about 5 or 6 districts so that we had data on, but that was what they were. Mostly international.
And I will say I was quite disappointed in District 96 because they did absolutely no consultation with the members at all. So kudos to Sean for starting this committee and giving everybody a voice, because they didn't have it in District 96. They were told we're going to have the international and the evaluation, and there we go, you're done. So kudos to Sean for doing this.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments, thoughts, questions, ideas, anything you want to share? I want to go home early.
We can do that. Well, people are thinking about it a bit more. Sean, maybe you can tell everybody what the plans are from this point on. So what we're going to do in terms of taking these ideas and going forward.
Well, as a member of this committee, as opposed to the chair of this committee.
Okay, fine.
What my understanding was is that we're going to be compiling all of the data that we shared with you tonight. We're taking any input that we get from tonight, from the chat, from the questions, from emails that may follow up as a result of this, because the recording will be posted probably tomorrow, so people will have an opportunity to listen to it in their own time. And we'll be taking a look at all that feedback over the next 2 weeks. We will compile that information and put forward a recommendation that will be presented to the incoming district executive, core executive team, and presented at the district executive council meeting, or committee meeting, that will take place on June 30th as part of the district officer training and district executive committee council meeting. And we'll have that will be voted on at that meeting and then presented again for a formal vote for the whole district executive council with the vice presidents of education and the presidents. That will take place before September 30th. That's the date. It has to be done by. So that's what we'll do. So there will be an interim decision, which will, unfortunately, that it won't give us time to do anything, make any major change. It would be running short on time, but that would be the recommendation. And I would suggest that we will communicate that on our website, what that recommendation is, so that everyone's aware of it. If there's any more consultation that's necessary, people will have another opportunity yet to put forward their ideas before the actual vote takes place.
Good. I delegated really well. Thank you very much, Sean. Okay. There's another comment here from Maureen. I totally agree about District 96. We got to the conference and were asked to vote on something they had already decided. So good on District 21 for asking for input. So, and again, that's kudos to Sean. So, all right. Well, if there are no further questions, comments, or ideas, I think we can probably shut this down. Again, you can remember and spread the word that the webinar will be posted on the district website, and we are still open to hearing ideas. If somebody didn't realize what the deadline was or thought it was passed and hasn't put their ideas forward, please do send them. We will, for the next week or so anyway, have a chance to look at any ideas that come through. And then, as Sean said, we're going to review the ones we have and make a decision on the best ones and then put those forward. So, all right. I think that's it. I don't see any more questions or comments. Thank you, Maureen. I've got little clappy hands going by. And Barbara. Those are cute. I like those. Sugata. I hope I pronounced that right, Sugata. Anyway, thank you very much for attending, and I think we can shut this down now. Take care,
thank you all.
Thank you very much for your input, and spread the word.